So this right here is one of the most unique mobile gaming controllers that I've ever seen. This is the MCON by Ohsnap. It's a MagSafe compatible mobile gaming controller. Now I'm sure you've seen some advertisements on this already, and the reason why it's so unique is because it's a pretty different form factor than anything else we've seen in the mobile controller market. So quick disclaimer, this was gifted to me, but I did not have to make a video for this, and they are not seeing this video before I post it. So these are all of my honest thoughts, and I'm really excited to test this because I wanted to know, is this the best mobile game controller out there? So I wanted to give some background on the MCON first. This was originally designed by Josh King, so shout out to him because he spent a lot of work on this. And the problem that he was trying to solve at the time was that mobile gaming controllers weren't really that convenient to use at the time. A lot of them had this telescopic design where, you know, you would open it up and put your phone in. A lot of them were bulky and not really pocketable, like this one. You can't really fit it in your pocket. And lastly, controllers like this would give you a hard time if you had a case on your phone, because depending on how thick your case was, it could be hard to, you know, get the USB-C slot to fit all the way into your phone. And because of all of those issues, the MCON was born with this really cool MagSafe idea. You don't have to plug it in through USB-C, it's all Bluetooth, but you still get those tactile buttons that's really nice to play with. Now, eventually Josh ended up partnering with Ohsnap for mass production of his product because at the time, as I understand it, he was pretty much doing this all on his own, and it was a lot of work. And to get it to mass production, he just didn't have a lot of the resources. So now I want to get into the design and features of the MCON. As you notice, when it's closed, you can't see any of the buttons. Right here is the MagSafe attachment that your phone is placed on, and it's very, very sleek and pocketable as well. Watch, if I stand up, I can put it in my pocket. Easy. And to get it to open, all you got to do is press this button on the top here. The phone slides up and you can now see all of the buttons. It's a really satisfying mechanism, actually. It reminds me of the Sidekick phones from back in the day. I know I'm probably showing my age with that one. People are going to call me Unk in the comments. I'll have to take that. And my first impressions of the build quality is that it actually feels really premium. It's made from a combination of metals and plastic. It does have some weight to it, so it doesn't feel like flimsy or that it's gonna break or anything. The buttons feel really nice, and I can tell a lot of design and a lot of work was put into this. Now for the control layout, it's similar to a PlayStation controller layout where you have the D-pad on the left, you have the two analog sticks at the bottom, and on the right you have your normal buttons. And on the bottom left and bottom right here, these are where all your settings buttons are, your home button, and at the top here is an eject button, and I'll talk more about that later. There are also 4 buttons on the back. You have your L1, R1, L2, and R2, and it's actually really nice that they fit 4 of these back buttons on here in such a slick device. Now my first thought when looking at these joysticks, I was wondering if they were Hall effect or just your normal potentiometer joysticks that really get stick drift, but after doing a little bit more research, I found that these joysticks are TMR sticks made by GameSir, and they're actually better than Hall effect sticks because they give you more accuracy, but you still get that anti-stick drift technology. And you may have noticed on the back here, there are these hidden paddles that you can actually flip out and deploy them so that you get some better ergonomics when you're gaming. Now it's not as nice as a full-size controller, but it does give an area for your palms to rest on and your fingers to grip while you're gaming, so it does help a little bit. Now as far as connectivity goes, you can connect the MCON to your phone or any other device in 3 different ways: Bluetooth, 2.4 gigahertz, and wired. All 3 of these methods are fully compatible across iOS, Windows, and Android, but I will say the wired option is a little bit weird since the port is at the bottom and you kind of got to wrap it around and stuff. I would much prefer if the USB port were on the top, especially if you're using a wired connection, but it's still nice that it's there. Now let's talk a little bit about polling rate and latency, because depending on which connectivity method you choose, you'll have a different experience. Unfortunately, Bluetooth is limited to only 125 Hz polling rate, and if you compare this to a PC gaming setup, you know, usually where you're getting like 1000 Hz polling rate or more, you may notice a little bit of latency. Although this is a downside for latency, it is an upside for battery life because the low polling rates actually help you game longer on your phone or any other device. Now, if you switch the connectivity to wired, you're getting 1000 Hz polling rate, which is more similar to when you're PC gaming or when you're console gaming. And for those that don't know Hertz and polling rate, it pretty much means how many times the device is talking with your phone or your computer per second. 125 Hertz means 125 times per second, which gives you about an 8 millisecond in input delay. But 1000 Hertz means the controller is talking to your device 1000 times per second, so it gives you about a 1 millisecond of input latency. And lastly, if you're using the 2.4 gigahertz mode, which is unfortunately only available if you're using the accessories like the dock or the keycast, that will give you anywhere in between 250 Hz to 1000 Hz. I don't know why they gave such a huge range for the 2.4 GHz mode, and it was kind of hard to test, but I will say when I was using the accessories, it did feel a bit snappier than it did on Bluetooth. So 2.4 GHz gives you that nice middle ground. One thing that I did find out when testing the different connectivity modes is that when I was cloud gaming or connected to my PC via remote streaming, it did feel a lot better to use that in the wired mode versus the Bluetooth, because like I said before, Bluetooth only has 125 Hz of polling rate, which gives you about 8 milliseconds of input lag, and that just adds to the network latency that you would have when you're cloud gaming or remote streaming. So if you're cloud gaming or connected to your PC remotely, then I would highly recommend using the wired mode. If you're just casual gaming or playing a game that's already on your phone, then you can use the Bluetooth, and I think that's fine. I almost forgot to talk about another cool feature of this controller. You can actually detach the top part here and use this as a kickstand for your phone, you see? I think this is a really cool option because it allows you to set your phone down while you game, and it could be a lot more comfortable, especially if you have a heavy phone and don't feel like, carrying the whole thing. You just set it down on a table and game. This is also great if your phone case doesn't already have a kickstand. Now let's talk a little bit about the battery. This is rocking a 500 lithium-ion battery in this thing, and they claim to get up to 9 hours of continuous gameplay or up to 1.8 years, yes, I said years, of standby time when this thing is on standby when it's closed. At the top here, there's an on-off switch, and if you leave it on but close the device, it'll go into standby mode and save a ton of battery, so you don't always have to worry about switching this thing on and off. And of course, on the bottom, it charges via USB-C. In my testing, I was pretty much able to game all day on this thing. I was taking this thing with me on the subway or just on the walk sometimes, and I only charged it like 1 or 2 times within the span of 2 weeks. Oh, one more feature that I actually forgot to mention on the controls, there's actually a gyro in this device, so when you're playing a game that requires aiming or maybe driving, you can move the controller around and it'll actually move your controls around on the screen as well, which is pretty sick. Now let's get into the price of the MCON, and this is where things get kind of sad. The MCON goes for $150 MSRP, which is honestly pretty steep for a mobile gaming controller, but it is on sale often. I mean, right now, as I'm creating this video, I think it's on sale for 99 bucks. But when you get into the price range of $150, I start thinking about wanting to get a dedicated mobile gaming device instead of this gaming controller. There are a ton of retro gaming devices on the market from companies like Retroid, AYN, and Enbernic, and they have devices that are cheaper than $150, or maybe just a little bit more if you want to get more performance. So yeah, I think $99 is a much better price for this thing, and if you want one, I'll leave a link in the description below, of course. But at $150, it does feel kind of steep. Now let's get into some of my first impressions after I unboxed and started playing with the MCON. And the very first thing that I noticed is that when I connected it to my iPhone 17 Pro Max, is that it felt pretty top heavy. And I know I have a big phone and it's pretty heavy, but it made me like kind of want to lean forward a bit, and it was a little bit slightly uncomfortable to hold the controller upright, but this was a small issue, not that big. The next thing that I noticed is that when I was playing with it, the button space did feel a little bit cramped. I do have large hands. I'm a former college basketball player. And yeah, I just felt that it was kind of hard and cramped to like reach all of the buttons. It did help a lot when I deployed these paddles, but yeah, it doesn't feel like a full-size controller. But I understand that compromises needed to be made to make something that is so pocketable and something that's so convenient. Now, I would say these trigger buttons are the tightest spot. The L1 and R1 buttons are pretty slim, and so are the L2 and R2 ones. But overall, again, not too much of an issue, and I understand that maybe not everyone has the same size hands as me, so it could be a lot more comfortable for other people. The next thing I noticed was how small these analog sticks were, and the fact that they're recessed, which I know needs to be done in order to get the closing mechanism. Otherwise, you can't really have raised analog sticks if you want a device that closes and fits in your pocket. But the size of the joysticks themselves, I feel like could have been just a little bit bigger. To me, they seem even smaller than the Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons, which I absolutely hate. Not only do those get stick drift like crazy, but they feel like they were just made for children. I will say that even though these joysticks are small, I did find them to be very snappy and accurate when I was gaming. So again, I do understand that this is a trade-off to make something that's so convenient and fits in your pocket, but the functionality still is definitely really good. I also think that they could have made this device just a little bit bulkier so that these L2 and R2 buttons could be a little bit taller and wider, and my palms would have a bigger area to rest on. But I think it would still make this device still pocketable, just make it a little bit bulkier maybe. Overall though, taking into account all of the trade-offs, I do think that this is a really nice device to use, especially when you're on the go. It's just so easy to fit in your pocket, and I would much rather take this around with me when I'm just out and about, other than, you know, this big telescopic controller here. Speaking of telescopic controllers, let's compare the GameSir G8 Galileo right here to the MCON, because this is my favorite mobile gaming controller. The GameSir controller only works via USB-C, so you have to fit your phone here, and if you have a bulky case, it's just not gonna work. You're gonna have to take your case off. One good thing though is that you can still charge your phone via this USB-C port at the bottom while you're gaming. That's really cool. And the best part about this controller are the ergonomics. Honestly, when I first picked this thing up, it felt a lot like a PS5 controller. Like, you get these thumbsticks that are full size, they feel really nice, and the ergonomics, the bumps on the controller, feel really nice in hand, and you also get full size triggers. One thing that is missing from the GameSir though is that it doesn't have a gyro option. And the GameSir controller has these two back buttons as well. And to throw another device into this comparison, I also tried the backbone previously, but the GameSir to me just wins in ergonomics. But here's where the MCON wins. The GameSir controller is not pocketable, like unless you got some really big, okay, maybe this did fit in my sweatpants, these are huge, but unless you have some really big sweatpants or cargo pants, this is not really gonna fit in your pocket, but this will. Another area where the MCON is better is that you don't have to take off your phone case. As long as your phone case is MagSafe compatible, or you use the magnetic adapter ring that comes with the MCON, you're good. So at the end of the day, I think that these are both great controllers, but they do fit different use cases. If you're going on a longer trip or you have a backpack, then the GameSir G8 Galileo is a better option because you get better ergonomics with the controller. But if you're out and about and you want something more sleek and portable, then yeah, that's where the MCON wins. Before I get to the final verdict, I do want to talk a little bit about the accessories that you can get with the MCON controller. The first one is this KeyCast device, which allows you to plug your phone directly into the TV using a USB to HDMI adapter. And this is really cool because if you're in a hotel or something, then you can plug your phone into the TV and game using the controller that way. Or if you just want to watch movies, this is a really neat and handy gadget to have. And it fits on your keyring. You see it has a little keyring at the top. And the KeyCast goes for $30. Next, they also have this really nice travel sleeve, which if you're throwing, you know, the MCON into your backpack and want to protect it a little bit more, this travel sleeve is nice and handy. It costs $30 as well. And next you have the dock, which is actually really cool. It's kind of like the Nintendo Switch dock where you can plug your phone or the MCON controller in directly, and your phone, you can cast it to the TV just like you would for the KeyCast, or you can just sit there and charge the MCON on this dock. Now on to my final verdict and rating for the MCON. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10, and I'm gonna explain the areas where I think it does really well, and also the areas that it loses those points. So what it does well, it's truly pocketable. There's honestly no other device that has this sliding mechanism and MagSafe attachment. The TMR joysticks for a mobile controller are absolutely huge, so you never get stick drift. The built-in gyroscope for this controller is low-key underrated, and it's not a feature that I see often in other mobile controllers. The kickback mode is super nice, so it gives you another comfortable way to play your games. 9 hours of continuous battery life. Works across all platforms, iOS, Windows, Mac, and Android. And it has multiple connectivity options like Bluetooth, 2.4 gigahertz, and wired. Now where it loses those points is, first off, the price. $150, like I said before, is pretty steep, especially when you compare it to some cheaper options or just getting a dedicated gaming handheld. The ergonomics could be a little bit better while making the device still pocketable. Like I mentioned, maybe they just could make it a tiny bit bulkier to make things more comfortable. And lastly, when you're using a larger or heavier phone, it kind of throws off the balance of gaming in the handheld mode, because it makes it want to lean forward and it's a little bit awkward to play with. Now, I do think that this device is perfect for people who are out and about and on the go all the time. If you don't want a dedicated gaming handheld device, you can just get the MCON. It's really sleek, very portable. I think this device is perfect if you're in that scenario. But if you care more about ergonomics, then I would recommend getting the GameSir G8 Galileo, or if you just want a dedicated handheld device instead of gaming on your phone, then I would recommend some of the other options like from AYN, Retroid, and Burnick. There's a ton of other companies that make these retro gaming handhelds. And that is it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.